These are the tips that I picked up on this week. Tip number one is that it would be a really good idea to do some videos on childcare while bearing in mind anxiety and what is difficult when you're making those decisions in each area of the home in childcare and you've got anxiety, and how to overcome that, and what tips in a nutshell there are to do that, maybe providing reassurance or something of this nature. Tip number two would be to ensure that when we look at is using more jargon for childcare or childcare words, which we can find the ISL collection or collective on Pinterest, and there's like jargon for funny parts of the body, idioms, speaking cards, conversations, which is much better to help children understand. Tip 3 is to start looking for all the technology that will help you with parenting, whether it's Google Assistant, how to use it, what to do with it, how to deal with issues and decision making with the technology. Okay, the next tip is talking about psychological safety and awareness in the body, creating safety behaviors. What's important to create psychological behavior in the home when you're talking about discussions. What's the priority? Okay, the next tip is starting conversations that people that matter with the child. You can get all sorts of conversation starters. To talk to teachers, to take to general people. Look at the role and the description that you would have in the roles. You can pick up discussions on how to, for example, talk about car parking or something like that, and just helps the child's relationship with professionals in the community.
So is it that you just feel attracted
Talk to people about maybe from a different perspective, or change their perspective on things by researching it beforehand and try to get them on side with your viewpoint, and try to be warm and have an emotional impression on them. Always try to comment on when you see the child's behavior. Try and say that when they do this, this makes them happy. When they say this, this makes it happy. When they hear this, it makes it happy. Look at the skills to always keep them to a level of happiness, and what opportunities you can find, whether it's a smile, whether it's body language, whether it's planning something that they need. That would be really important. When you're feeling that you've got anxiety, it's mental health, you may not be able to tell when the tension in a relationship is rising because you don't have the insight. So it's always important to take yourself out and go to a place of relaxation, maybe a holiday, and then you'll be able to tell the difference, and you can see that the tension has been building up in the relationship. Now, when you're making decisions in a relationship and you're going through this, it is possibly quite difficult. You might start feeling sick. You might want to take a break. It's not a better feeling, and you might end up having an avoidant strategy. You need to look at what you're trying to avoid, survey it, take your time, and your body might want to shut down to avoid the feeling because it makes it so intense. It's a resistance symptoms, and it keeps on popping up. So the way to get rid of it is to do the work beforehand, find out why you're feeling uncomfortable, try to stay present in that relationship and not unsteady, and make it an issue not to have this reaction in the short term, or muscle tension, or whatever else, and have some strategies to deal with it. When you deal with it and you understand it better, then that's how you can overcome those barriers in your head instead of having avoidance strategies. Slow the problem down when you're talking about it. Think about what moves you're going to make, which makes you feel good. Just do things that make you feel happy, like having good smells around, having good paintings around, doing arts and crafts, going out down, having pictures. Do something that helps you, feel as though that you've won and not feel like too much of a failure. Communication is the key, and you have to be present and make yourself more aware of what you're saying and doing in the relationship and what stage it's at. The next tip is always turning negatives into positives and showing how where you have turned into positive. Making sure you have experiences which are emotional, where you're trying to make an emotional connection and naming those experiences such. If you have a problem with I don't know, self-confidence, you have a self-confidence plan. If you have a problem with doing something, you have put a plan about doing, and see how more self-aware you are about that experience, and waiting to see
Eunice has come to meet a dean and wants to get better
wait
insight
and
on
see
how
then
he
what
can
you've got to
market
do
himself.
after that.
However, he's narrowing his field of view
So
by
basically,
rejecting the prospects of searching online.
making sure as well, when you're doing those positive and negatives, you know who you're going to go to, who is your go-to support, who do you make decisions with, who do you give advice for, and that you can go through those examples with them, where you're saying this is a good example of the dad did this or the mom did this, that I'm very proud of this person for doing this, that as a result the child has said he's happy and that they're having good times together. The emotional side of things could be more therapeutic. The experiences could be quite traditional, or maybe problem-solving experiences.
Old school for Eunice.
What we advise is families to use it. So they don't use it in
So join in with the child all the time, make connections, tell people what they mean to you all the time. Talk about those tough times. If you feel that somebody hiding information, not giving you information to you about how the relationship is going is difficult, say that, and say that that was a difficult part. When you're talking to the child or other people, make sure that they're supporting you. Even making videos on your experiencing, show them what you do for your self-care, what your day-to-day tasks, and then talk about it as a family and recap on what are the good parts, what are the bad parts,
very, very important,
what did you like about it, what bit were you not too sure about, and start talking about whether it emotionally affected you, whether the information was deep enough, whether the information was good, was it too much, is it something that would help you if you were under too much pressure,
in the sense where she has to wear a hijab.
to make decisions at that time. So is it positive to start these rituals and experiences to help you feel better and help you along the way? So it's good to focus your intention on something else, or a ritual, for example, and not on the issue itself, but it's good to discuss it as a ritual.
Trust is something that you build.
One nice ritual is to name the issue that you're having with a candle, and then soak something in the water and then drop it somewhere else, as if you're going to be dropping the issue. I thought that was really nice. One of the needs is to make sure that children's times are remembered, when they had good times and bad times, and how are they going to get over those tragedies and bad times, and how can we be part of children's time in such a way that there is a good bond and they understand that we help them to get over that time as well. Okay, the discipline that I put in is all about respect and respecting others, and that's a key issue. You could use spirituality and how spirituality feels, and believing in spirituality and what needs to be disciplined, and look at what other areas that there needs to be discipline in. You can stop and see and look at how things look and how systems work, and building happiness into the day-to-day life of a child, and seeing what makes sense to them when it comes to spirituality. The other needs, rather than practical needs or what needs to assist them to bond, could be teaching them knowledge at different stages of their lives, spiritual pillars, nurturing them, other sort of positive thoughts about God and spirituality and nature, giving them experiences such as holidays.